Hey guys, this is Paul from Halftone, and today I'm going to show you how to make a custom mobile nav inside of Webflow. I'm just going to kind of show you the whole thing I'm talking about here is. So first of all, I have this kind of fake project mocked up here, and the nav bar inside of Webflow, this little built-in element. Super great, works super well, has this logo on the left and a set of links on the right. And then at a certain point you hit those mobile sizes and you get this hamburger menu, which uses those same set of links, stacking them vertically by default, and you can change the color of these things and some of the easing and the speed. And what I really like to do, and especially for bigger navs and sites that really have a fair amount of personality to them, I'm trying to inject a lot more style and flavor into them, and something that will speak to the site overall. Because you can see here, this is kind of what our goal for our kind of ending product will be, where it's kind of the demo I made before, where we switch to this more manually built navigation or hamburger icon, and you click this and we really get this full screen takeover. We get that gradient in the background to bring it more of that branding. And you can see really what I'm really going to focus on is kind of this transition from closed to open and back again, and really focusing on some of the animation pieces, this switch to a close icon particularly, and then how you can start to make things fade in and out. So to start here, I just have my fake little Verge article mocked up here, and I've started out by building out the nav on desktop, and then here on when we hit the horizontal phone mobile landscape, you can see we switch from this desktop nav wrapper and mobile nav wrapper, are those two separate pieces, and then we hit here, they kind of switch visibility. So the desktop nav turns off or switches to display none, and the mobile nav is turned on or set to display block. We switch those in and out, that's real important. And then the next piece here is I have a real tiny interaction with this mobile overlay. So it's set to display none by default, and it's also set to position absolute, and then it's got this full one, and it's set to z-index of 1000, which will make it open on top of pretty much everything. And I'll show you how to get this mobile nav interaction to work as well on that. So we got this position absolute, and you can see if I turn this on, it will take over the whole screen, it will fill everything. You can still scroll, it still kind of takes up that whole screen, but you can see we're showing our nav and hiding our nav with a real simple interaction. So in here, I have this mobile link block, which contains these three hamburger menu pieces, the three divs, the top, the middle, and the bottom icon. They're 40 pixels wide, 2 pixels tall, and then the top and the middle have some margin added to them to make them spaced out from the middle line in there. So real simple, real easy. And then inside this mobile overlay, we just have this set of links, same set of links inside of our desktop nav. These 5 links here. That's kind of the one main downfall to this, is that you kind of have to manage those set of links separately. They don't automatically switch from one to the other like it does with the kind of standard nav inside of Webflow. You just gotta manage it in one place, and it works in both places. This is a little bit different than that, but most navs, your nav shouldn't be overly complicated anyway. So ideally this should work and it'd be pretty manageable, because most navigations on sites aren't changing drastically very often anyway. So we have a real simple interaction set up on top of our mobile link, which right now just hides and shows this mobile overlay div on that. And then the other piece there, you can see this icon, this menu icon is staying on top of everything. That's kind of the second part of this positioning. You want to take that mobile link, you want to set it to relative, so it starts to get a z-index option. Anything outside of static gets that, starts to get that z-index option. Then I set it to 2000. Basically anything higher than the mobile overlay. You can see that's 1000. This is set to 2000. Basically any number above 1000 will do the same trick. It's all kind of that layers and numbering. And this is set up so we can basically click this, and it's triggering this hiding and showing, but we can also just add some animation and some movement to this upon those clicks. So with our mobile link div selected, we can go into our interactions. We have this mouse click set up. We have show mobile overlay on first click, and on second click, hide mobile overlay. So show mobile overlay, the initial state is just selecting that mobile overlay div and setting it to display none. And then, the kind of first action with it is to just set it to display block. Real simple, just hide and show. So our next step here will to be to animate these lines here, the hamburger menu essentially. So we're gonna take this middle one, we want that to just go away completely and turn into, go from opacity 100 to opacity 0. And then these top and bottom ones to come down and meet in the middle and then rotate 45 degrees. So they kind of turn into an X like I showed earlier. So if we just take the middle one and we can do opacity, we can click this set to initial state, and we want it to be 100 by default. And then if we click again on opacity and add another one, you can see it starts to, we want to have this happen after this hide and show, and the opacity can be cranked down to 0. So that's kind of our initial piece there, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. And then we want to start this process with the top one, and we will do transition, move, initial state. We're just going to be moving it up and down, so with the Y, and we can set it to the initial state of 0, and that will be kind of what it's set at right now. And then if we add another transform, we bring this down into the, with the opacity, we want all this to kind of happen a little bit together, and we can have this come down so you can start to move it. I think around 10 pixels feels, pretty decent and seemed good from my initial testing. Then the next step is we want to add that rotate on top of this. So initial state, we're going to use this Z kind of, roundabout rotation, and the initial state wants to be 0. And then the next step is to simply add that 45 degrees to it. You can see we're starting to build this thing. So if we preview this, it kind of starts to happen, and all starts to kind of happen together, and we're starting to build at least half of it anyway. So basically now we just want to repeat this whole process with the bottom hamburger menu icon. So move, and we're basically going to flip our numbers around to be the negative values of what we just did. So we're starting out move, we want it to be 0 for the Y, and then for our actual action, we can move it -10 pixels. And again, I'm just going to add this to this little pile down here of all this stuff kind of moving together. And then we will repeat that same process with rotation, 0 degrees as our initial state. And then we will go once more, rotation, and then -45 degrees. And again, plopping it all inside this little thing here. So you can see up here, we got an X kind of going here, and we got this transition from that hamburger menu. The middle one goes away. The other two, switch over to this X. And since it's all built within this kind of setup that we did before, it's really got this nice, we can basically do anything we really want to this animation. And it's not really going to mess with anything. It's just going to change how it looks, but it's still going to open and close that menu, and we're still going to get any of this. So we can basically select all these actions I have highlighted here. I like to have them all kind of happen together. That's just kind of my preference. And then I'll make it happen in 0.3 seconds. And then let's change the easing, something like in-out quad, something a little bit snappier, a little bit cleaner. And here, if we go into preview mode and just run through this, you can see that, boom, we got a nice little X happening there. We can see that it switches pretty quickly and feels pretty snappy to me, and feels pretty nice. You can see if we click it again, it'll close the menu, but we haven't set up that second click. We haven't added all those other pieces to this yet. So we still are just hiding the mobile overlay. So if we basically just want to go in here and set everything back to everything that we changed on the other one, we basically just want to go back and set it all to that default state. So hamburger top, we did move and rotate. So move, and we can do our Y back to 0. We can then add a rotate on top of this. It's basically all going to go back to 0. And it's going to be pretty easy to set up this second piece. You just kind of remember everything you were doing before. So if we do opacity for our middle icon, middle line, that was just at 100, pretty default, pretty easy. And then the bottom one, we go move, we want to go that Y to 0, and then we want to add our rotation with our Z index rotation, not Z index, but Z space. I mean, we can pile, again, all these in here together. It's kind of harder to preview this inside of here since it's all just kind of trying to do exactly what it's showing on the screen. So then we can do that. That's all under the second click, hide mobile overlay. So then we can go back into preview mode. We can click into here, boom, and then here, that's okay. So we want to change our easing and make that at least the same. I personally like it a little faster on close, since, you know, when you're closing it, I just kind of don't really care about it anymore. I'm just trying to close the menu and get on with my life. So we can go here and boom, happening super quick, super smooth, and we got our menu transition happening. I'm just going to add one more little piece of flair, if you will, to this. So you notice in our little preview here, the X is animating real nicely, but the real good thing about this is, you know, say you had some other fading animations in other parts of your website, or things kind of showing on scroll, or things like that, you can really inject all that kind of same idea into this menu with the same kind of concept. So with the same concept as we did with the mobile menu. So we have this overlay, mobile overlay background, which is that gradient background, and I just want that to fade in basically the same way as we did the hamburger menu. So if we select this one more time and we do opacity 100, maybe let's do the same 0.3, and then we do in out quad, and let's have it happen right after that hide and show. So you can see that really starts to kind of, I'm gonna do the same thing with the links wrapper as well, actually. So if we go here, set the initial state to 0, or the initial opacity to 0, and then we go opacity 100, let's make this 0.3, in out quad. Then you can really like kind of set the timing for all these things. So you can either kind of stack them together so they happen in line with each other, or they can kind of happen, you know, all after each other when they're a little bit separated out like this. So you can see that that's feeling pretty nice. It's a nice little delay on, you know, showing that maybe there's a different way to stack stuff. Maybe it wants to go, you know, maybe all this wants to happen together. What does that feel like? That's kind of nice. I like that. So we'll go here and we'll click that, and it kind of has a slight delay to the animation. You know, you can swap things around inside that animations palette and really make things happen. And I like how it all kind of closes together. Feels pretty nice, nice and snappy, and there's really a lot of things to do here. So if I go ahead and publish it for the first time, so we can kind of preview it out here on this other tab in the real world, as I like to call it. You can see we're switching now to the mobile nav. Everything's happening just as we previewed. But one thing that just kind of I like to do to these things, or it really adds a nice bit of polish on top, is to make it, you can see we're able to scroll away from that, and we kind of lose it, and it's a little bit, that's not super great. We don't want our users to be able to, scroll away from the menu. It'd be nice if it just kind of popped on top and we were kind of locked in there. So that's going to kind of be my goal here. So I have a little bit of code that I want to add to this, a little bit of JavaScript that we'll add before the body tag. So here, I'll leave this on the screen for a second so you can kind of check it out. It's just got this, I can't even remember where I found this, somewhere in the Webflow depths of the forum, but basically what we're doing is, so in here we have this mobile link div. So you can see here, basically it all kind of centers around this chunk here. You basically got to swap this out for whatever you're naming your div or your link inside your project. And this will basically say, when you click it, it will turn overflow to hidden, and it will be kind of auto by default. So auto or overflow will allow you to scroll because there is space. This page is bigger than the screen that we're looking at it through. So there's overflow, but it will set it to hidden upon that click, and then turn it off on the second click, basically. So you can see in here, like inside of Webflow, we have mobile link, and inside Webflow, you're able to kind of add spaces and add uppercase and lowercase letters and things. But once it takes it and it publishes it, gets rid of those spaces, because you can't really have spaces in class names in CSS, and it adds them with a dash, and it makes everything lowercase for you. So that's what you have to do when you write this code, is kind of go check out your published thing, make sure you're matching that class name exactly as it is out here, just because we can't preview these kind of custom code things inside of Webflow. You have to kind of publish and then test stuff out, and then see kind of what happens from there. So we want to plop this before the body tag, a nice script in here. We'll hit save, we'll hit publish, and hopefully it'll all work on first go here. So if I hit refresh, you can see I can scroll up and down. I can click our menu open, and you can see I can't scroll anymore. The scroll bar goes away. I'm trying to click and drag up and down. I can't do it. I hit this, and I can scroll again. So that really just locks you in and gives you just that much of a nicer experience. Feels like a real nice polished mobile experience, and feels nice and good. Yeah, so that's kind of the main situation here. It's real easy, not too hard. Once you kind of get the hang of, you have a nice handle on interactions inside of Webflow, and you kind of understand, how you kind of make things move and how you make things happen before and after each other. You can really do kind of whatever you want. You can see we got a pretty complex thing going on here, but it's really, only a couple things moving around and hiding and showing. It's really about switching opacity on and off, and getting your kind of easing and things, on top of each other and below each other, which really makes all the difference. You can easily take stuff and just order it around and check out the way things happen. Yeah, so we'll put that code snippet for sure inside of the video description or inside the blog post for this video, and we will maybe even share out this file if that's something we can do. Anyway, thank you, have a nice day, and have fun digging around in Webflow.